Hello friends, today topic is work burnout. Let's rant.
When I was 25, I got laid off from my first big girl job, and I internalized that wholly. I was laid off, so it was like budget cuts. It wasn't really anything I did, but I had a lot of insecurity about my work ethic and just my productivity and the kind of the work I was contributing because of that. Because the job I worked for was, one, very toxic environment. Two, it was also my first job. I started when I was 22. So I didn't have a lot of experience with advocating for myself in a workplace going into this. And that's something college definitely doesn't teach you. Something I tell everyone now is when I worked for this kind of like a mom and pop MLM kind of company, I had a role that told me that I was going to wear many hats. And whenever a job tells you that's going to be part of the description, either I advocate for your pay to make it worth your while or run, okay? Because I was getting paid minimum wage for that shit. And I felt like I owed it to them because I was like so grateful that I was able to work at the place that allowed me to move to the city of my dreams. And I felt like I really had to earn my place there. And the biggest thing that I had an issue with this company was, one, it was very like teach yourself and figure it out as you go. There wasn't like any direction, especially because my supervisor quit like not even like 2 months into my start. But anyways, the biggest thing I learned from that job and that takeaway is sometimes people are going to not see your potential because of their own distractions or their own perception. Because at that time, I started having ideas. I started wanting to do like lead campaigns and start doing more with the marketing team. And my boss loved it. But when my supervisor came back finally after about a year, I want to say, she didn't like how she felt like I was like replacing her, which wasn't even the case. But I find it weird how women of older generations that are in the workplace see women in my generation or younger as a threat and kind of seeing us as we have to like jump through the same hoops they did instead of actually being our mentors. So with that job, I kind of saw it coming. Not that I was intentionally trying to butt heads with her, but that I kind of was just trying to see like, hey, like I've been doing this work as long as you've been gone. Now that you're back, I really I don't really appreciate you talking down on me like I'm dumb, you know? And I kind of saw like how my ideas were being more reciprocated with the audience versus hers. But because she had seniority, I believe the ultimate decision came down. It was me or her. And of course, they were going to choose her. So with that in mind, I kind of saw that coming in a way. Like I realized that like when she came back, I knew my job would be at risk because I was kind of taking on a lot of her responsibilities. And I think the way that this just kind of went along, I knew I had to leave that job eventually, and this was just kind of my sign that, you know, if you're not going to jump ship, if you're not going to jump ship, you're going to get thrown overboard. And that's exactly what I did. I got thrown overboard. But with that, I had to really look at perspective with that because internally I knew I could blame myself. I know I could say like, oh, I did this wrong, or whatever. But ultimately, I knew I had a great work ethic. I knew that I contributed, was successful. I knew people cared about what I did. I knew that what I did mattered at the end of the day. And I got that validation too, just like from people reaching out to me after this. But besides the fact, even if they didn't, I know how much work and heart and passion I put into all those projects because that's just the kind of person I am. And nothing can take away from me being proud of the work I put in at that job. So to cope with being fired or being let go, I kind of just started looking at it as being like, I'm not a failure. It's just like a term of perception, you know? Clearly they didn't see the potential in me that I knew I was capable of, or maybe they saw me as a threat, whatever the fuck it was, okay? The point is, they didn't see my potential. They didn't see my value, so I should not value their opinion of it. And that's kind of the mindset I go into with every single job hunt I do too. I've been going through rejections for about 4 months now, probably longer. But it has just been rejection after rejection, and it is kind of getting to a point where I like kind of feel like, oh, it's impossible. People hate me. Like I look good on paper, but once I actually get into the interview, like there must be something wrong with me. And that's not the case. Again, all in good timing. So if something is not meant to be, it means it's not meant to be for you, and you're one step closer to getting to where you are going to be. And patience is such something that we have to keep holding on to and keep going with. But ultimately, you should never let your workplace or an employer define you as a person. Our jobs are such a section of our life. At least they should be. And I know I've made the mistake. I've seen people I love make the same mistake where they put their job above their personal life or above their well-being, which is never going to make you happy. When you make your job number one, that means you know everything else is going to be number two, including you and your health. You're going to put yourself at risk. You're going to put your mental health at risk, shove everything down, and eventually you're going to explode and burn out because that's exactly what happened to me. I always felt like I had to suppress myself, suppress my emotions, be grateful the work positions I was in, the opportunities I received, and never giving myself enough credit to rest or to put my priorities first, my needs first. My first job, I never took a day off. Even when I had COVID, I still worked from home remotely. And even doing little things like that, I can see how it was leading to my burnout after 2 years of working at this company, which led to my next job being very short lived because it was a very much the same fast paced environment. And I ultimately was not ready to do that again. So after years of part-time work and doing some freelancing gigs, I'm finally starting to realize how that burnout and how self-abandonment impacted my work ethic. And even more so my communication, which is huge for a workplace. When I was working my second marketing job, I realized that I struggled with communicating, like when I wasn't able to meet deadlines or if I needed an extension. And I felt like if I did that, they would think that there's something wrong with me. So I never said anything, which ultimately just made the thing worse. But I didn't know why I wasn't able to communicate that, because internally I was like, oh, I got this, I got this, I got this. I did not get this, but I didn't know how to ask for help at the time. So really learning and staying in touch with my emotions, learning what I need, learning what my basic needs and desires are, really helped me understand, like, okay, this is how I can communicate those needs and wants. This is how I can say, like, oh, like, okay, now I realize this is why I would need an extension on. This is why I would need questions answered, Because in my first job, I was so afraid to ask questions because it almost seemed like I was punished for doing so, making it seem like it was a burden to teach me things or to taking up time to show me something that I just didn't know because I was new and 22. And I've been seeing that a lot too with a lot of my friends and family. We're going into their first big kid jobs and just ultimately knowing that they are self-abandoning themselves to be the perfect employer, to meet their employer's expectation of them, which you will do regardless. But when you're just starting out, you're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to get a grasp like on the ropes of the situation. But ultimately, you should not need to abandon yourself to make this job work. No job is worth your health or your sanity. And I sacrificed mine completely. I almost lost my life because of it. And I just wanted to say that now because you are not crazy for feeling like your job is burning you out and you're overwhelmed. It's just how this society is, unfortunately. We are taught that working hard and working endless hours is good. But when you're not getting the pay reciprocated, and even if you are, there is no balance to make sure you're taking time for yourself. I kind of like to look at this as like a cup mentality, like when you pour from an empty cup and you have all these, like when you have a full cup, you have that capability of giving out. But when your cup is empty, you got nothing to give. So learn how to pour into your cup before you can start pouring out again. And I know like how hectic jobs can be, especially if it's your first job and you have a lot of expectations that you're trying to meet. I feel like when you can learn that balance is the perfect sweet spot for how you can manage work and life. Because we all need to have it. Otherwise, we're going to go fucking crazy and we're all going to burn out. And I don't want anyone to deal with the stuff I had to deal with where I had to like recover for such a long time. And I felt so guilty because I wasn't working full time, let alone working the hours I was used to working, like 14-hour days. So it was a huge switch up for me, but it was ultimately what my body and my mind needed. And I think getting back into it again and like trying to like make sense of everything, like I'm definitely having those same feelings resurface, those I'm not good enough, they don't like me. And I have to remind myself that that's not always the case. Sometimes people have to see the perspective that you see to understand where you're coming from.
Sometimes taking a break is good for you. What do you think about this video? Comment down below and thank you for your time.